So if you've got an older car that's just sitting around, not starting, maybe hasn't moved in months, you might be thinking it's not worth much, but actually there's still plenty of value left in it. Whether it's the metal, the working parts, or just avoiding a potential fine, selling a junk car can be a lot more worth your time than it seems. So in this video, I'll walk through exactly how to sell your junk car, how to figure out what it's actually worth, and the pros and cons of each way you can sell it, whether you're trying to get the most money or you just want it gone fast. When people talk about a junk car, they usually mean something beat up or not worth fixing, but legally there's actually something specific. Depending on where you live, an inoperable car can be declared a public nuisance if it's left abandoned on public or private property for a certain period of time. For example, some cities consider a car abandoned if it hasn't moved on a public street for more than 72 hours. And that is where things get expensive. The legal and financial risks can vary wildly by location. You could face significant daily fines, towing fees, storage costs. Once the city tows the vehicle, it's often demolished and the title is wiped clean. So while dealing with a junk car feels like a hassle, waiting too long can cost you far more in the long run. Now, the big thing to understand is that you're not selling a car like a regular used car. This is not about resale value, it's about salvage value. That means it's being priced based on the parts inside and the metal it's made of, not how well it drives. If your car still runs or even just has some working parts, that's already a plus. Stuff like the engine, battery, or transmission can be worth a good amount. And even smaller pieces like the starter motor, GPS system, or alternator are still in demand. One of the biggest value drivers is actually the catalytic converter, because it's got rare metals in it like platinum and rhodium, so if that's still intact, it can add a lot to your offer. And then there's the metal itself. Heavier vehicles are generally worth more just because of how much scrap they provide, so an older truck is probably going to get you more than a compact car. But newer, lighter vehicles with popular intact parts can still pull in a solid price as well. Where you live also plays a role. Scrap metal prices change depending on the region, and if you're close to a salvage yard, towing costs stay lower. Plus, demand tends to go up a bit in spring and summer, so the timing can matter too. So if your car's just sitting there collecting dust, or fines, there's a good chance it's still got some cash value. The question is, what's the best way to sell it? Well, if you're after speed and convenience, selling online through a junk car platform can be a great option. Services like Peddle will walk you through a quick form where you answer a few questions about the car, stuff like make, model, mileage, and overall condition, and then they'll give you a quote right away. If you like the number, they'll set up a free pickup and you get paid on the spot. What's nice here is you don't have to deal with creating listings, answering messages, or arranging test drives. It's quick and low effort, which makes it great for anyone who just wants the car gone. Now, the downside is that a lot of these services really are just middlemen. They'll take your info and pass it to local salvage yards, so you're not always getting the highest possible offer, and in some cases you might run into a bait and switch situation, where the offer looks good online, but when the driver shows up, they try to talk you down. Unfortunately, that happens more than it should. The car's already on the tow truck, you're ready to be done with it, and suddenly they're lowering the price. And for a lot of people, it's easier to just accept that lower number than restart the whole process. So if you want to avoid the middleman and get a more transparent deal, you might consider going straight to a local salvage yard. It'll take a little more work, usually at least a few phone calls to compare quotes, but it gives you more control. And if your car still runs or has valuable parts, there's often room to negotiate. You'll also get a better sense of how they're coming up with the price, whether it's based on the weight of the metal or the demand for certain components. Some yards also offer free towing, so it can be a smooth experience overall. Now, if you're someone who's got the time and doesn't mind doing a bit more legwork, a private sale might be the way to go. This is usually where you'll make the most money, but it also takes the most work. You'll need to clean up the car, maybe make a few minor repairs like touching up the paint or fixing the brakes, then take good photos, write up a listing, and handle all the back and forth with potential buyers. That includes managing messages, screening people, setting up safe test drives. So it's more hands-on, but if your car is still drivable or has high-value parts, that route can be worth it. The thing to watch out for, especially with private sales, is scams. They're unfortunately pretty common in this space. One of the big ones is that same bait and switch trick, except this time it's coming from a buyer who shows up, pretends to find new issues, and uses that to lowball you. Or you might run into the upfront fee scam where someone asks for a deposit or towing payment in advance and then disappears. A legit buyer is never going to ask you to pay anything upfront. Payment fraud is another one to keep on your radar. Fake cashier's checks, overpayment scams where someone gives you too much and asks for the difference back, that kind of stuff still happens. And then there's identity theft, which can come from someone collecting too much personal info or even cloning your car's VIN number. So always double check who you're dealing with and make sure the title is transferred properly. Now, if you're looking for the safest and easiest path, especially if the car's not running in bad shape, Peddle is one of the best platforms out there. They've been doing this for a while and specialize in buying cars that are tough to sell, high mileage, damaged, or just too old to be worth fixing. You can complete the whole process online, they handle the towing, and most of the time, you'll have the transaction wrapped up in less than a day. They've got a strong reputation with a high Better Business Bureau rating and a ton of 5-star reviews. And they don't charge any fees, so whatever they offer, that's exactly what you get. And because they're connected with salvage yards and parts buyers all over the country, they can usually match your car to someone who actually wants it, even if it's not worth anything on the regular market. It's also worth pointing out that they make their money by bundling cars together and reselling them to those buyers. So you're not being charged for towing, ads, or paperwork. For sellers, that's a nice setup. No fees, no surprises, no waiting. And if you want to see what your car might be worth, I'll leave a link to Peddle down in the description. You can get a free quote in less than a minute, and there's no pressure to accept, it just gives you a solid starting point. So the bottom line here is that selling a junk car is less about finding the best way to do it, and more about finding the way that fits you best. If you want to get the most money and don't mind putting in the effort, a private sale is probably the better way to go. If you want a fair deal without the hassle, going directly to a salvage yard works well. And if you want the whole thing done fast, with minimal stress, online platforms like Peddle are an easy and reliable choice. So hopefully this gave you a clear idea of how to sell your junk car and what kind of value you might be sitting on. If it did, please leave it a thumbs up, as I always appreciate that. And if you got any questions, feel free to drop those down below. I always enjoy getting to respond when I can. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.